Mom, I am back. He rescued me. Tears flow as human soldier reunites alien queen with her lost daughter. Among them, the planet Orinthia shone with a gentle blue-green light, its oceans reflecting the sun's golden glow. From orbit, it seemed peaceful, a jewel of the galaxy. But the people of Orinthia had long carried a heavy sorrow. Years ago, the queen's young daughter, Princess Lyria, had vanished during a sudden raid by a hostile species from a neighboring system. Since that day, Orinthia's skies had felt emptier, the laughter of its people dimmer. Queen Celara, a being of graceful silver skin and luminous eyes, ruled with both wisdom and warmth. She had led her people through countless crises, but nothing had tested her heart like the loss of her child. Every evening she would stand on the balcony of her crystal palace, staring at the horizon where the stars met the clouds, whispering her daughter's name into the wind. "Lyria," she murmured, her voice trembling. "Where are you, my little star?" Despite the years, her hope had never faded. Celara believed that somewhere across the cold void of space, her daughter was still alive. The thought of finding her fueled the queen's every action, but even she had to admit that the chance of reunion was slim. Meanwhile, far from Orinthia, a human soldier named Marcus Veyer navigated his small spacecraft through the asteroid belt of the Zelaris cluster. Marcus was part of the Galactic Peacekeepers, a coalition of humans and other friendly species working to maintain harmony across star systems. He was not the tallest man nor the strongest, but he possessed a courage that outshone any weapon and a mind that could solve problems others deemed impossible. Marcus's ship hummed softly, a comforting rhythm that reminded him of home. His mission was simple in words but dangerous in reality: locate and rescue Princess Lyria, whose whereabouts had been whispered across trade stations and intercepted transmissions. Many dismissed the rumors as fantasy, a child lost in space forever. But Marcus had a sense that the universe sometimes hid truths in plain sight. He adjusted the controls, guiding the craft through a maze of tumbling rocks. Each maneuver required precision. A wrong move could shatter his ship and end his mission before it even began. Yet Marcus welcomed the challenge. He thrived when the odds were against him, when danger danced on the edge of every choice. Hours turned into days as he followed fragments of intelligence across the system. The clues were sparse: a faint distress signal here, a rumor of a captive there. Marcus relied on both technology and intuition. He listened to the silence between messages as much as the messages themselves. Something deep inside him told him he was getting closer. On Orinthia, news of Marcus's search had reached Queen Celara through her spies and allies. She watched the humans' progress with cautious hope. Could he succeed where all others have failed? She wondered, her silver eyes reflecting the stars. She had learned to trust humans. They were unpredictable, resourceful, and most importantly, brave. Marcus's journey took him to the outer rim of the Orinthia system, a place where light barely reached and danger lurked in every shadow. Here, pirate bands and rogue factions thrived, preying on travelers who dared to venture too far from safe zones. Marcus's ship sensors detected faint energy readings, consistent with old reports of where Lyria had been seen. He slowed the ship, scanning the area carefully. The asteroids were enormous, some larger than cities, drifting slowly in the void. Between them lay narrow passages, almost impossible to navigate, but Marcus's hands were steady, his eyes sharp. He guided the craft through a particularly tight cluster, feeling the familiar thrill of life-and-death decisions. Suddenly, a shadow moved across his sensors, a smaller ship, barely detectable. Marcus's instincts kicked in. He engaged evasive maneuvers, weaving through asteroids while analyzing the approaching vessel. It was unmarked, dangerous, likely tied to the captors who had taken Lyria. "Not today," Marcus muttered, gripping the controls. With clever timing, he used the gravitational pull of a nearby asteroid to slingshot past the hostile ship, leaving it spinning into the void. He allowed himself a brief smile, but he knew the hardest part was still ahead. As night fell over the asteroid belt, Marcus docked on a small, hidden moon where intercepted messages had hinted at a possible prison. The moon was rocky and barren, with jagged peaks that scratched the black sky. He activated his suit and weapons, prepared for anything. Every step on the surface echoed against the cold stone, a reminder that danger could appear at any moment. In the distance, Marcus saw a faint light. It flickered like a candle in the darkness, small but persistent. His heart quickened. That has to be her, he whispered. He approached cautiously, scanning for traps or patrols. The light grew brighter as he neared a hidden cave entrance. Inside the cave, he found a small, makeshift living space. It was clear someone had been there recently: crumbled food packets, a tattered blanket, and most importantly, a tiny figure huddled in the corner. Marcus's breath caught. Could it really be her? Princess Lyria? He asked softly, kneeling down. The figure looked up. Large, luminous eyes filled with fear but also curiosity. The child's voice was barely a whisper. Who are you? I'm here to bring you home, Marcus said gently. You're safe now. Tears welled in Lyria's eyes. She didn't fully understand who this human was or why he had come, but something in his calm presence reassured her. She allowed him to take her hand, the first human touch she had experienced in years that felt warm, honest, and safe. As Marcus guided Lyria back to his ship, he knew the journey had only begun. Reuniting her with her mother would be the greatest challenge yet, and the path was filled with danger. But Marcus did not doubt for a second. Humanity had brought him this far with courage, cleverness, and compassion, and he would not fail now. From orbit, Queen Celara watched anxiously as communications flickered to life. The reports were fragmented but promising. A human had located her daughter. Her heart pounded in anticipation. Could it really be true? The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as mother and daughter were on the brink of reunion. Marcus adjusted the controls and set a course back to Orinthia, the tiny ship carrying hope across the vast emptiness of space. Every maneuver, every calculated risk, every ounce of courage he had gathered now pointed toward one moment: the return of Princess Lyria to her mother. The stars above shone a little brighter that night, as if the universe itself celebrated the small, brave human who dared to bring light to a galaxy long shadowed by loss. Marcus Veyer's small ship hummed steadily as it glided through the empty expanse between the asteroid belt. And Orinthia. Princess Lyria sat quietly in the co-pilot's seat, her small hands gripping the edge of the console. Her eyes, wide and alert, reflected both fear and curiosity. She had been alone for so long that the presence of another being, especially a human, felt strange and comforting at the same time. Marcus kept one hand on the controls, the other resting gently on Lyria's shoulder. "We're almost through the dangerous parts," he said softly. "You just have to stay close to me." Lyria nodded, her voice barely audible. "I don't want to go back. I don't even know my mother anymore." Marcus smiled, though his eyes stayed focused on the stars ahead. "Your mother has never stopped waiting for you. She's never given up hope. You'll see her soon, I promise." The journey was not easy. The path back to Orinthia took them through the Varkan Expanse, a region notorious for pirate activity and dangerous gravitational anomalies. Marcus had prepared for every possible challenge, but nothing could replace quick thinking and courage when danger struck unexpectedly. As they entered the expanse, alarms blared. Sensors detected multiple fast-moving ships converging on their position. Pirate raiders, small, agile, and armed with energy disruptors, had spotted them. Marcus tightened his grip on the controls. "Stay calm, Lyria, I've got this." The pirates opened fire, sending streaks of light across the dark void. Marcus twisted the ship sharply, dodging incoming blasts. The first hit glanced off the ship's hull, rattling the console and sending a jolt through both of them. Lyria's eyes widened in fear. "Hold on," Marcus shouted, flipping the ship upside down to evade another attack. Sparks flew from the hull and the ship groaned under the stress. Despite the danger, Marcus remained calm. He knew that panic would only make things worse. Using the Expanse's irregular asteroid fields to his advantage, he darted between massive floating rocks, making it difficult for the pirates to follow. The strategy worked, but it was not without risk. Every maneuver required precision, and one mistake could spell disaster. Lyria gripped her seat, trembling. "Are they going to catch us?" she asked. Marcus glanced at her and gave a reassuring nod. "Not if I can help it. Humans are good at thinking on their feet." He activated the ship's cloaking field, a risky move that would hide them from sensors but consume a lot of energy. The ship flickered, vanishing from the pirates' scanners for a brief moment. Using this window, Marcus made a daring maneuver. He directed the ship through a narrow canyon formed by two giant asteroids, a path too tight for the larger pirate vessels to follow. The pirates tried to keep up but collided with debris. Explosions lit the darkness of space as their ships were forced off course. Marcus allowed himself a small sigh of relief. That should slow them down, he said, turning the ship toward a safe route. For the next few hours, the ship moved in silence, the tension slowly giving way to cautious relief. Lyria watched Marcus with growing admiration. He seemed fearless, but it was more than courage. It was his cleverness and determination that kept them alive. For the first time in years, she felt the faint stirrings of hope. As night fell over the expanse, Marcus checked the navigation systems. There was a faint signal ahead, weak but steady. "We're close," he said. "That signal could be from an old relay station." "It's our next checkpoint." Lyria's curiosity got the better of her. "What's a relay station?" she asked. "It's like a lighthouse in space," Marcus explained. "It helps us find the right path when the stars don't give us enough information. It's old, but it's reliable." The ship approached the station, a metallic structure floating among the stars. It looked abandoned, battered by years of meteor storms and neglect. Marcus docked carefully, using thrusters to hold the ship steady. Inside, the station was dark and silent, the metal walls echoing their footsteps. Marcus scanned for any signs of life or danger. Lyria followed close behind, her small frame moving silently across the metallic floor. Suddenly, a noise echoed from a nearby corridor. Marcus raised his hand, signaling for silence. "Stay behind me," he whispered. A group of hostile figures emerged from the shadows, scavengers who had made the abandoned station their home. They had noticed the ship's arrival and intended to steal any valuables or captives aboard. Marcus didn't hesitate. He activated the ship's defensive systems, creating a barrier of light that forced the scavengers to stop. "You're not taking anyone," Marcus said firmly, his voice carrying both authority and calm. "Leave now and you won't get hurt." The scavengers hesitated. Marcus's presence was unlike anything they had faced before. Humans were unpredictable. They acted with courage and intelligence, often using clever tricks to overcome stronger foes. The scavengers realized they were at a disadvantage and retreated, disappearing into the shadows with frustrated hisses. Marcus exhaled slowly. "That should do it," he said, looking at Lyria. "Humans have a way of surviving the impossible." They spent the night at the station, recharging the ship and preparing for the next leg of the journey. Lyria sat on a metal bench, her eyes fixed on the stars outside the window. "Why did you come for me?" she asked quietly. Marcus looked at her, choosing his words carefully. "Because no one deserves to be alone. Because someone has to do the right thing even when it's hard. Humans, we try to help even when the odds are against us." Lyria's eyes filled with tears. For the first time in years, she felt someone cared for her, not out of duty or fear, but because it was the right thing to do. The next morning, they continued their journey. Marcus piloted the ship with skill, avoiding known pirate zones and using less-traveled paths to stay hidden. They passed strange nebulae that glowed in colors Lyria had never seen, and she gasped at the beauty of the universe. Marcus smiled. "It's easy to forget that even in danger, the universe is full of wonders. You just have to take the time to notice them." Lyria leaned closer to the window. "I never knew space could be so beautiful," she whispered. Hours passed. The tension of the journey was balanced by quiet moments of awe. Marcus used the time to teach Lyria simple navigation tricks, how to read the stars, and how to understand the signals from distant planets. Each lesson was small, but it gave her a sense of control and understanding she had never felt before. Just as they approached the edge of the expanse, alarms sounded again. This time the threat was different, a massive gravitational anomaly, a swirling storm of debris and energy that could tear their ship apart. Marcus tightened his grip, calculating the safest path through the storm. "Hold on, Lyria, this is going to be rough," he warned. The ship rocked violently as they entered the anomaly. Energy sparks flew across the control panel, and the lights flickered. Marcus's mind worked quickly, adjusting thrusters, compensating for shifts in gravity and keeping the ship steady. Lyria held on tightly, her face pale but determined. Minutes felt like hours, but Marcus guided the ship through the heart of the storm. Outside, debris whirled like a violent dance, but inside, the human and the child trusted each other completely. Finally, they emerged on the other side, battered but intact. Lyria let out a sigh of relief. "We made it," she said, her voice trembling with emotion. Marcus nodded, exhausted but smiling. "Yes, and we're closer than ever." As Orinthia came into view, the blue-green planet glimmered like a beacon of hope. Marcus glanced at Lyria, who stared at her homeworld with wide eyes. "We're almost there," he said softly. Your mother is waiting. Lyria felt a mixture of fear and excitement. The thought of seeing Queen Selara again was overwhelming. Would her mother recognize her after all these years? Would she remember the little girl who had vanished so long ago? Marcus placed a reassuring hand on her shoulder. You've been brave, Lyria. That's what will matter most. The ship descended toward Orinthia, passing through the upper atmosphere. The clouds glowed with the morning sun, and the oceans sparkled beneath them. The familiar landscapes of forests, mountains, and cities stretched out as far as the eye could see. Marcus guided the ship to a safe landing near the palace, the first sign of home after a long and dangerous journey. Lyria's heart raced. The journey had been perilous, but the hardest challenge was still ahead, the reunion with her mother. As they stepped out of the ship, Marcus kept a watchful eye on the surroundings. Orinthia was peaceful now, but they could not be careless. The moment Lyria saw the palace, her legs trembled with anticipation. She looked up at Marcus. Will she really be happy to see me? Marcus smiled warmly. Yes, Lyria, and you'll see how much hope you bring back to her and her people. Humans have a way of making impossible things happen. And with that, they began the final walk toward the palace gates, a journey filled with courage, hope, and the promise of a long-awaited reunion. The grand gates of Orinthia's crystal palace shimmered in the morning light, reflecting every color of the sky. Princess Lyria's heart pounded as she took a step forward, the reality of home overwhelming her senses. She had imagined this moment countless times in her dreams, but now that it was real, it felt almost impossible to believe. Marcus Veyer walked beside her, steady and calm. His hand remained lightly on her back, offering reassurance without words. We're almost there, he said softly. Just a few more steps and you'll see your mother. Lyria's eyes brimmed with tears. She had grown up in the cold, lonely corners of space, surviving with only her memories and hope. The palace, so vast and beautiful, was like a dream she had forgotten she could have. Her small hands clenched Marcus's sleeve, seeking courage. The guards at the gate recognized the human instantly. Marcus had a reputation that traveled across star systems, a brave and clever human soldier who could survive impossible odds. He spoke calmly to the guards, explaining the situation. Within minutes, the gates opened fully, and they stepped onto the marble walkway that led to the palace's inner courtyard. At the heart of the courtyard, standing beneath a canopy of shimmering light, was Queen Selara. Her silver skin glowed under the morning sun, and her eyes, always wise and calm, now shimmered with hope and anticipation. She had waited for this moment for many years, holding on to the belief that her daughter was still alive. "Mother," Lyria whispered, her voice trembling. She could not move at first, frozen by the sight of the woman she had missed so much. Queen Selara's eyes widened, and then with a sound that was half a gasp, half a sob, she ran forward. "Lyria, my little star." The two embraced, and the courtyard seemed to hold its breath. Tears flowed freely, shining like diamonds on their skin. Lyria clung to her mother, feeling the warmth and love she had missed for so long. Queen Selara held her tightly, whispering words of comfort and love that had been kept in her heart for years. Marcus stepped back, allowing the reunion to continue, but his eyes watched closely. He had rescued many lives before, but this moment carried a different weight. He had not only brought a child back to safety, but also restored hope to an entire world. As Lyria and her mother pulled back slightly, they looked into each other's eyes, searching for the child and the mother they once knew. Lyria's voice was small but full of emotion. "I was so scared I didn't know if I would ever see you again." Queen Selara cupped her daughter's face in her hands. "I never stopped looking for you, my star. I believed, even when it seemed impossible, that you would come back to me." The courtyard filled with the soft murmurs of palace attendants who had witnessed the reunion. They bowed respectfully, giving the mother and daughter space while marveling at the human who had made this possible. Marcus remained quiet, feeling both pride and humility. Humans often acted quietly without expecting recognition, but the impact of their courage could be felt across worlds. Finally, Queen Selara turned her attention to Marcus. "And you, brave human," she said, her voice full of gratitude and awe. "You have returned my daughter to me. How can I ever thank you?" Marcus shook his head, a modest smile on his face. "No thanks are necessary, Your Majesty. I did what anyone would do. No child should ever be left alone in the darkness." The Queen's eyes glistened. "You have shown not only courage, but a compassion that our people have rarely witnessed. You are a true friend to Orinthia." Lyria's eyes sparkled as she looked at Marcus. He saved me, Mother. He didn't have to, but he did. He kept me safe. Queen Solara reached out, taking Marcus's hand in hers. Then we owe him everything. Orinthia is in your debt. Marcus felt a warmth in his chest, but he quickly stepped back. Humans were not used to receiving such accolades, and yet he appreciated the recognition. I only did what needed to be done, he said. The bravery belongs to Lyria too. She never gave up. The reunion was not only emotional, but also inspiring to the people of Orinthia. Word spread quickly. Their princess had returned, saved by a human soldier whose courage and cleverness had surpassed legend. Citizens cheered and celebrated, not just the safe return of their princess, but also the reminder that hope could prevail even in the darkest times. That evening, Queen Solara invited Marcus to a private audience in the palace's grand hall. The walls were adorned with ancient tapestries depicting Orinthia's history, battles, and triumphs. A warm light filled the room, and Marcus could see the pride in Solara's eyes as she looked at her daughter, now safe and smiling. You have done more than bring Lyria back, the queen said softly. You have reminded us of the value of courage, loyalty, and empathy. Your kind humans carry a spirit that inspires even those of us who have lived for centuries. Marcus nodded, humbled. I just followed my heart, Your Majesty. That's what humans do. We fight when it's right, we help when we can, and we never give up. Lyria moved closer to her mother, holding her hand tightly. I was so alone, but now I feel like I can be strong again, and I know I'm safe with my mother and with Marcus. The queen smiled, tears still glistening in her eyes. You are safe, my star. And your bravery will guide our people for generations. You've proven that hope and courage can survive even the longest years of darkness. As night fell over the palace, Marcus sat quietly in a small alcove, watching mother and daughter laugh and talk. The joy in the room was infectious, a living testament to what humanity could achieve. Marcus realized that his journey had not only been about rescuing Lyria, it had been about showing the galaxy what humans were capable of: compassion, courage, and the ability to inspire hope. Outside, the stars of Orinthia shone brightly, and the winds whispered across the palace terraces. Somewhere far away, the enemies who had taken Lyria must have been learning that they had underestimated not only the human, but also the spirit of hope that could never be extinguished. The next day, Orinthia held a celebration in honor of Lyria's return. Citizens gathered in the palace gardens, bringing flowers, songs, and gifts. Marcus was invited as the honored guest, though he remained humble, standing quietly to the side. People approached him to offer thanks, to shake his hand, or simply to smile at the human who had restored what was lost. Lyria, dressed in a flowing gown of pale silver that shimmered like starlight, approached Marcus. You saved me, Marcus. You gave me back my mother. I will never forget what you did. Marcus crouched slightly to meet her eyes. You don't have to remember me as a hero, he said gently. Remember that you are brave, that you can face challenges, and that hope is always worth holding on to. That's what matters most. Queen Solara joined them, placing a hand on Lyria's shoulder. And remember this, my daughter. The universe is full of allies, friends, and heroes. Not all wear crowns or hold power, but their actions shine brighter than the brightest star. Marcus has shown us that humans are such a species, courageous, clever, and kind. Lyria smiled, feeling a warmth she had not known in years. I understand now. I will be brave too, and I will never stop believing in hope. As the celebration continued, Marcus walked among the people, observing the joy he had helped create. He had faced danger, navigated impossible challenges, and trusted in humanity's strength, and now he could see the results. Orinthia's hope had been restored, not by force or power, but by courage, cleverness, and the simple determination to do what was right. That night, as the palace settled into quiet, Marcus looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, other children, other people might be waiting for help, for courage, for hope. Humans had a place in the galaxy, not as conquerors, but as protectors, as allies, as beings capable of inspiring light in the darkest places. He smiled softly. Lyria slept peacefully nearby, and Queen Solara stood at the balcony, gazing at the stars with a mother's pride. Marcus knew the journey was not yet over. There would always be challenges, threats, and dangers in the universe. But he also knew this. As long as humans continued to act with courage, compassion, and cleverness, hope would never die. And in that quiet palace, on that shining planet, humanity had shown its brightest light yet. The news of Princess Lyria's return spread like sunlight across Orinthia. Citizens of every city, town, and village paused their daily routines to celebrate, filling the streets with laughter, music, and color. Banners of silver and blue fluttered in the wind, each one bearing the emblem of the royal family. Yet amid the joy, there was a deeper, more profound sense of awe. The people of Orinthia had witnessed the courage of a human soldier. Marcus Veyer walked through the streets with Lyria at his side. Though he had saved many lives before, he had never seen a reaction like this. Orinthians of all ages bowed or nodded in respect, their eyes bright with gratitude and admiration. Children ran alongside him, pretending to be brave soldiers on imaginary missions, inspired by the human who had changed their world. "Why are they looking at me like that?" Marcus asked quietly to Lyria. She smiled shyly. "Because you are amazing, you did what no one else could, you brought me home." Marcus shook his head, trying to deflect the praise. "I just did what was right." Humans do things like that sometimes. We try to help. But even he could feel the difference. This was more than a simple rescue. The aliens had witnessed human bravery, cleverness, and compassion firsthand, and it left a lasting impression. Humanity, it seemed, had a way of shining in the darkest moments. Queen Celara invited Marcus to a council meeting with her advisors. The room was vast, circular, with walls that glimmered like liquid crystal. Counselors of Orinthia, representatives of the planets allied with the Queen, and foreign dignitaries gathered, their eyes focused on the human who had restored hope to an entire civilization. "The bravery and ingenuity of this human have saved my daughter and strengthened our people's faith and hope," Queen Celara declared. Her voice echoed through the hall, powerful yet full of gratitude. "We owe him a debt we can never fully repay. Let his courage serve as an example to all of us." The council members murmured among themselves, impressed by both Marcus and the human spirit. Many had studied humans before, observing their technology, their resilience, their willingness to take risks, but seeing it firsthand was different. Humans were unpredictable, inventive, and above all, brave. A young council member approached Marcus, curiosity in her eyes. "How did you stay so calm in the face of danger?" she asked. Marcus shrugged modestly. "I focus on what I can do, not what I can't. Danger is always there, but fear doesn't help anyone. You have to trust yourself and your choices." Another counselor, older and more cautious, nodded slowly. "Your people truly are remarkable. You act with a combination of cleverness, courage, and compassion. That is rare in the galaxy." Marcus looked down at his hands, unused to such praise. He wasn't used to being seen as a symbol, but he realized that sometimes the actions of one person could inspire millions. One small human could make a difference far greater than anyone imagined. Meanwhile, Lyria spent her days relearning life in the palace. She walked through the gardens with her mother, learning the customs she had missed and discovering her place in Orinthian society. Yet, she never forgot Marcus. He had shown her the universe's possibilities, that courage and hope could overcome even the greatest challenges. One afternoon, as they walked along a terrace overlooking the glowing oceans, Lyria spoke softly. "Mother, Marcus is different. He doesn't just fight. He thinks, he cares, he understands. I think humans can change the galaxy." Queen Celara smiled. "He has shown us that already. Humans are not like other species we have encountered. They combine strength with kindness, courage with cleverness. They inspire hope in ways that no one else can." Marcus was present during these conversations, quietly listening, feeling both pride and humility. He realized that his actions had opened a new path for interstellar friendship. Humans had not only saved a child, they had earned the trust and admiration of an entire civilization. Days later, Orinthia's celebration reached a peak with a grand ceremony in the palace courtyard. Citizens from nearby planets had arrived, curious to see the human who had accomplished what many thought impossible. Marcus stood at the center, watching as the people cheered, not just for Lyria's safe return, but for the heroism of humanity itself. The queen approached him, her silver eyes shining. "Marcus, your courage has strengthened our people's belief that kindness, bravery, and cleverness are forces that can change the galaxy. Your actions will be remembered for generations." Marcus shook his head. "I just did what anyone with a heart would do. Humans try to help when it's needed, that's all." Yet, even as he spoke modestly, everyone present knew the truth. Marcus had done more than rescue a child. He had reminded an entire civilization of the power of hope, of courage, and of compassion. Humans, they realized, were a force for good, capable of inspiring change in ways others could not. That evening, the queen held a private gathering for Marcus and Lyria. They sat together in the palace garden, bathed in the soft light of the twin moons. Lyria rested her head against Marcus's shoulder, grateful for the human who had risked everything for her. "You saved me, Marcus," she whispered, "not just from danger, but from despair." "You brought me hope," Marcus smiled gently. "You had hope inside you all along, Lyria. I just helped you see it again. That's what humans do. We help each other, and sometimes that's enough to change the universe." Queen Celara watched the exchange, her heart full. She had spent decades ruling wisely, but nothing compared to witnessing the bond formed between human and alien child. In that moment, she realized that the galaxy needed humans, not as rulers or conquerors, but as allies, as friends, and as beings capable of inspiring courage, hope, and trust across worlds. The following days were filled with diplomatic meetings, celebrations, and cultural exchanges. Humans were no longer a distant curiosity. They were now admired for their bravery and ingenuity. Scholars studied Marcus's methods, strategists analyzed his thinking, and children played games pretending to be humans on heroic missions. Orinthia had learned a valuable lesson. Courage, cleverness, and kindness could shine brighter than the most powerful weapons in the galaxy. Marcus, however, remained humble. He spent time teaching Lyria simple lessons about navigation, problem-solving, and trust, knowing that the greatest victories often came from the smallest, everyday choices. He taught her how to read the stars, how to remain calm under pressure, and how to think logically in chaotic situations. Each lesson was a reminder that humans valued both mind and heart. One evening, as the palace lights glimmered beneath the twin moons, Marcus and Queen Celara stood together on the balcony, overlooking the city. The streets were quiet now, but the sense of hope lingered, glowing like firelight in the hearts of the people. "You have changed our world, Marcus," the queen said softly. "And in doing so, you have shown us what humans are capable of. You are brave, clever, and kind. Your species will always have a place among our allies." Marcus looked out at the horizon, feeling the weight and the honor of her words. "I only did what I had to, but I'm glad it made a difference. That's what humans hope to do, help, protect, and inspire. We may not always succeed, but we try." The queen smiled. "And that is why you shine brighter than any star, Marcus Veyer. You are proof that hope and courage can survive even the darkest challenges." As the night deepened, Marcus watched the stars twinkle above. He knew that danger still existed in the universe, that challenges would continue to arise, and that many would underestimate humans. But he also knew that humans had a unique strength, the ability to inspire, to care, and to act with courage and cleverness when it mattered most. Across Orinthia, the people slept peacefully, their hearts filled with hope. Lyria rested safely with her mother, her dreams filled with light, laughter, and the memory of the human who had saved her. Marcus knew the journey was far from over. There would always be threats, challenges, and dangers in the galaxy. But one truth remained undeniable. Humanity could shine brighter than any obstacle, leaving a legacy of hope wherever they went. In the days that followed, Queen Celara shared stories of Marcus's bravery with her people. Young and old alike listened, inspired by the tale of a human who had risked everything to bring back a lost child. It became more than a story. It became a symbol, a reminder that courage, cleverness, and compassion were qualities worth striving for, no matter where in the galaxy one lived. And so, the legacy of Marcus Veyer, the human soldier, grew across Orinthia and beyond. He had proven that humanity could shine, even in the darkest times. His courage, his cleverness, and his heart had changed lives, restored hope, and inspired a civilization. And in the quiet moments as he looked up at the stars, Marcus knew this was only the beginning. Humanity's light would continue to shine, touching worlds and hearts far beyond his imagination. The morning sun rose over Orinthia, spilling golden light across the crystal towers of the palace. Princess Lyria woke with a sense of peace she had not felt for many years. For the first time since her capture, she felt safe, surrounded by the warmth of her mother, the security of her palace, and the quiet strength of Marcus Veyer, the human soldier who had changed her life forever. Queen Celara was already awake, moving gracefully through the garden as she tended to the royal blooms. Her silver eyes sparkled with joy, reflecting the sunlight and the pride she felt in her daughter. Lyria joined her, holding her mother's hand, and together they walked through the fragrant paths of the palace gardens. "I never imagined the world could feel this peaceful again," Lyria whispered. "It's like a dream." Queen Solara smiled, brushing a strand of her daughter's hair from her face. "It is more than a dream, my little star. You are home, and we owe this peace to Marcus." Marcus had been busy coordinating with palace engineers and advisors to ensure Lyria's safety and comfort. His presence had become familiar to everyone in the palace, and yet there remained a quiet sense of awe. Humans were admired not only for their strength, but for the courage and cleverness that allowed them to face impossible situations. Marcus had earned the trust of a civilization and the respect of its queen. That morning, a ceremonial event was planned in the grand courtyard to officially celebrate Lyria's return. Citizens, diplomats, and foreign allies gathered, their eyes fixed on the palace steps. Flags fluttered in the breeze, and music filled the air with a rhythm that matched the heartbeat of the city. Marcus stood beside Queen Solara and Princess Lyria as the crowd erupted in cheers. Children waved handmade banners, their laughter ringing across the courtyard. Adults bowed respectfully, whispering words of gratitude to the human who had restored hope. "Today," Queen Solara began, her voice ringing clearly across the courtyard, "we celebrate not only the safe return of our princess, but also the courage and heart of a human who has proven that hope, bravery, and cleverness can overcome even the darkest challenges." The crowd fell silent for a moment, listening before erupting again in applause. Marcus remained modest, his hands folded before him, quietly absorbing the honor without arrogance. Lyria stepped forward, holding her mother's hand, and faced Marcus. "You saved me, Marcus. You risked everything to bring me home. I can never thank you enough." Marcus shook his head gently. "You don't need to thank me, Lyria. I did what anyone with a heart would do. The courage was in you too. You never gave up. That made all the difference." The queen stepped closer, placing her hands on both Lyria's shoulders. "Marcus has shown us what humans are capable of: bravery, intelligence, and compassion. He has taught us that even when all hope seems lost, a single determined heart can bring light to the darkness." As the ceremony continued, Marcus and Lyria walked through the gardens afterward. The air was filled with flowers, and the gentle hum of Orinthia's natural energy created a sense of harmony. Marcus watched Lyria's face as she laughed and talked with the palace children. She seemed lighter, freer, and stronger than she had in years. "You're very special, Lyria," Marcus said softly. "You survived so much and you trusted someone you had just met. That's bravery too." Lyria looked at him, eyes wide with admiration. "You taught me what hope really is, Marcus. You showed me that even in the darkest places there is light. I want to be brave like you." Marcus smiled, feeling a rare warmth in his chest. Humans often acted without thinking of the consequences, guided by courage and compassion. He had faced countless challenges, but nothing compared to the feeling of seeing hope restored in a child and her mother. Meanwhile, the Orinthian Council recognized the significance of Marcus's actions. Messages were sent to neighboring planets, telling of a human who had inspired hope and courage. Diplomats and scholars studied the events carefully, realizing that humans could be trusted allies in times of crisis. The galaxy, long wary of unknown species, began to see humanity in a new light. Days passed, filled with celebrations, cultural exchanges, and quiet moments of reflection. Lyria spent hours with her mother, learning the ways of the palace and reconnecting with the people she had once known. Marcus assisted with navigation projects, helping the Orinthians improve their travel routes and teaching them small but clever strategies for handling challenges in space. His presence became a symbol. Humans were capable of inspiring growth, understanding, and unity among civilizations. One evening, as the twin moons of Orinthia rose over the horizon, Queen Solara invited Marcus and Lyria to the palace balcony. The city below glittered with light, and the gentle waves of the ocean reflected the moon's glow. "You have given us more than a reunion," Queen Solara said softly. "You have given us hope, faith, and the knowledge that courage and kindness can overcome the impossible. Humanity has earned the admiration of Orinthia, and your actions will be remembered for generations." Marcus looked out at the horizon, feeling the weight of her words. "I only did what was right. Humans act when they must, and we try to do what is best. That's all." Lyria rested her head on Marcus's shoulder. "You did more than that. You gave me back my life, and you gave my mother back her joy. That is something even more than bravery." The queen placed a gentle hand on Marcus's arm. "You have reminded us that hope can never be lost, and that a single heart can change the fate of many. We will honor you always." The next day, Orinthia held a festival in Marcus's honor. Citizens decorated the streets with ribbons, flowers, and glowing lights. Children dressed in costumes pretending to be human heroes, their imaginations fueled by the story of Marcus's courage. Musicians played songs inspired by his journey, and storytellers recounted the dangerous rescue, highlighting not just the action but the cleverness, compassion, and bravery that made it possible. Marcus walked through the crowds, observing the joy he had helped create. He saw hope restored in the eyes of people who had lived in fear and sadness. He saw Lyria laughing freely with her friends, and he saw Queen Celara standing tall and proud, her heart full with the knowledge that her daughter was safe. For Marcus, this was more than a reward. It was proof that humanity's greatest strengths, courage, cleverness, and compassion, could shine across the galaxy, inspiring others to believe in hope, to trust in allies, and to face challenges with bravery. Later, as the festival ended and the city lights dimmed, Marcus stood with Lyria and Queen Celara on the palace balcony. The stars above sparkled like diamonds, and the gentle hum of the planet's energy created a peaceful rhythm. "You have done more than save a child," Queen Celara said, her voice filled with emotion. "You have reminded all of us that humanity can be a force for good, a source of hope, and a symbol of courage. Your deeds will inspire generations." Marcus nodded, feeling the truth of her words. Humans often acted quietly without expectation of reward, but their actions could ripple across worlds. He had faced impossible odds, survived danger, and remained steadfast in his mission, and the result was more than just a reunion. It was a demonstration of what humans could accomplish. Lyria looked up at him with shining eyes. "I will never forget what you did, Marcus. And I will always try to be brave and kind, just like you." Marcus smiled, placing a gentle hand on her shoulder. "That is the greatest reward I could ever receive. Courage and kindness are more powerful than any weapon. They can save lives, inspire hope, and change the world." As the three of them stood together, watching the stars, Marcus realized something important. Humanity's true power was not in strength alone, but in the combination of courage, cleverness, and compassion. One determined human could make a difference far beyond their own understanding. The night deepened, and the city of Orinthia slept peacefully below. Lyria rested safely with her mother, dreaming of the adventures and possibilities ahead. Marcus gazed at the horizon, knowing that challenges would continue to appear across the galaxy, but also knowing that humans had a light that could shine through even the darkest times. The story of Marcus Veyer, the human who had reunited a lost princess with her mother, would be told for generations. It was more than a tale of adventure. It was a testament to the strength of hope, the power of courage, and the impact of compassion. Humanity had proven its worth, not through conquest or dominance, but through bravery, cleverness, and a heart that refused to give up. And in the quiet moments, as the twin moons reflected on the palace waters, the people of Orinthia, their princess, and a humble human soldier all understood the same truth. Hope could survive, courage could triumph, and humanity could shine brighter than any star in the galaxy. The lost princess had returned, tears had been shed, hearts had been healed, and humanity had proven once again that its spirit could inspire light and hope wherever it went. The universe, vast and endless, had witnessed the triumph of courage, cleverness, and compassion, and it would remember.